go live, and here we are. Alright, so, hello everyone, and welcome back to Satisfactory. So last time we had finally gotten to the point where we are starting to work on our actual plutonium power plant, and we have our import train stations all built up. Now, what I've realized is I don't know if I actually have sulfur on the train network. I honestly can't remember. I feel like I probably do, but I don't remember ever doing it, so I guess we're going to find out. And if not, we're going to have another brief side tangent while we just go find a random sulfur mine somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the correct amount of cars. Alright, cool. So, this train is plutonium, sulfur. And let's type in sulfur and see if anything shows up. Alright, we have rocket fuel, sulfur, but nothing else. Okay, let's, how much sulfur do we need for this? 350 per minute. Okay, I need to go over there and see how much that is, because this is also power plant, so it's not a huge problem to be pulling from our other power plant's sulfur to do this, like it would be if this were just some random factory. But I do want to still make sure that we actually have enough up there, and maybe we can upgrade it if not. So it's all the way up this way in the northeast. So up to the Dune Desert we go. Alright, we're just flying along. Alright, so here we are at the rocket fuel sulfur source. Now, how much sulfur is this? That one is 356. It's a lot, basically. It's a really big amount of sulfur going out here. So, obviously this is apparently enough as it is, but can we upgrade this at all? And also, am I going to run out of power and die here? Yeah, I would. I definitely would have. Alright, so let's go over to these and see if we can upgrade them any. If we can get an extra 350 sulfur per minute out of this station, then we will know that we have enough total. Alright, so let's drop down to here. So you're going 600 a minute and you are capped out. Okay. So we're not getting our extra sulfur from there. Let's fly on up. And man, ionized fuel is so nice. You can just fly up without any problems. Alright. Stop there, and then go one more jetpack up to this foundation. So now we just head on over this way to find the other belt, which hopefully is going to be a pure node that's currently maxed, and we can upgrade with Mark 6 belts. If it's another normal node, then there's not going to be that much that we can do here. Oh wait, this is a minor Mark II. Okay, the other one was probably also a minor Mark II then. Congratulations, you are now a minor Mark III. And 1200 per minute. So that's going to give me an extra 600 per minute, which should be more than enough. So now we just have to get this upgrade all the way. Alright. There we go. And this is going to be a bit of a lengthy upgrade process. So there we go, and then we have to get this. So this goes up. And we are gonna have to jetpack the rest of the way up. Let's get up to this next bit and then stop here for a moment. And that is like something where this is more convenient than using like that one glitch type thing to get infinite length conveyor lifts. Is that you have places to stop and stand midway up. It's quite nice. Alright, so you become Mark 6. You become Mark 6. I guess this whole row will be Mark 6 belts. Like so. And that looks like it's going at Mark 6 speeds. Alright. So that is that. And we should now have more than enough sulfur. I guess let's upgrade these belts too, just to make sure that we can fill the entire thing up at full speed, even if it gets all the way down to this last chunk. Alright, so now the rocket fuel sulfur train is here, and oh boy, we got launched like crazy by that autosave. That's one of the biggest autosave jumps I've ever gotten. Okay, so that is that. And let's see here. Do I need to add more buffering onto this? You've been killed so many times by autosave jumps. Yeah, I can definitely see that being a problem, although I pretty much always have some sort of way of catching my fall, so I don't think I've ever died from it, but it's definitely been quite startling at times. Alright, so our sulfur supply has been upgraded, and now we can just respawn and make our way back to the plutonium power plant site. And actually, we're going to take another jump this way. Off we go. And we just fly on. Wait. No, the power plant. I'm getting confused with the aluminum production that I did last time. The power plant is back over to the east. So let's just make our way back to the hub and take the other hypertube cannon. Alright, so fortunately I caught myself before we got too far. Alright, so now we're back here. And we take this hypertube. And we're off. So just flying through the sky towards a giant chunk of train stations. Alright, so we're over here. Sorry about that sneeze. Oh, that wasn't even an autosave, that was just weird. I don't know what caused that. Alright, anyways, we are back here now. And now that we've confirmed that we actually have enough sulfur production, this guy can go to rocket fuel sulfur source and plutonium sulfur. And off you go. And we need to set all these to unload. Let's do that. Yes, apparently we're just directly above where the drones carrying uranium are traveling, and I think they actually phase through this floor here. So we do randomly get radiation spikes here, which is always a bit surprising. Alright, so all this stuff has to get set to unload. I did those ones already. Now we do these ones. And then we just need to do... Gosh, I forgot how many of these train stations there were here. We're bringing in like 6 different things. Alright, so that is that one. And one more after this current one. And then they'll all be set to unload. Really wish there was an easy way of setting this just automatically without having to open all the menus. There we go. Alright. So now all these train stations are set to unload, which means that they should work properly. So, next step is the quartz. So we get a train with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 freight cars, and you are going to get quartz. So this needs to be renamed. And then we just type in quartz. Go to quartz distributor, plutonium quartz. Save. And turn on self-driving. And because this is power related, we just want the trains to always be going so that there's never a risk of them running out. So normally I have them stay until they have fully emptied their cargo, just to minimize train traffic. But for power stuff, it's more important to make sure that they're always running. So this is Deuterium, Plutonium, Deuterium. And so you just have to go to Deuterium distributor and plutonium. Off you go. And this is aluminum ingots. So we get you, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's another train set up. So this is plutonium, aluminum, and you need to go to aluminum output 2 and plutonium aluminum. There you are. And then finally, okay, not quite finally, we have rubber. And we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of that. And then this is plutonium rubber. And so this is rubber output and plutonium rubber. There you go. And finally we have oil. So there we go. All these freight cars go in. And you are plutonium oil. And you need to go to the oil distributor and plutonium oil. Alright, there we go. That is all set up. And is this a traffic jam? What's going on here? No, I don't think it's officially a traffic jam. I think they're just slow. Which is a bit of a problem. We do need this factory to be getting constant supplies of all the stuff we're importing, which they can't necessarily do if all these other train tracks are in the way. So we might have to do something about that. I don't know what. Maybe give this station the shortcut or something. Because, yeah, this is obviously just not reasonable. It's actually just been absolutely ages since this guy has moved. Okay, why is no one moving here? Surely some of them should be moving. Okay, is this just a traffic jam way up here? So you aren't going into here because that guy exists past this block? Alright, we're going on a train fixing investigation again. Alright, so some things are moving, but most of this entire factory isn't. So that's a very bad sign, to say the least. Alright, so trains can't... Okay, no, they are moving here. Alright, so it isn't truly a traffic jam, it's just insanely slow. What is the source of the insane slowness? Is it the intersection, probably? Like the main intersection? Because all of these guys are just waiting. The only reason these intersections are bad is because the intersections in front of them are bad. Alright. Well, it wouldn't be a stream of trying to make the plutonium power plant without getting distracted on a giant side tangent, which is only vaguely related to what we're trying to be doing. I think this is probably makes like 4 streams in a row where I've been intending to work on the plutonium power plant and then just haven't been able to actually do that because there's some other problem. Alright, so all these guys are waiting all the way up to here. And this is the main intersection. And past this, there's plenty of empty space. So yeah, I think this intersection must be the problem. So we need to give this a look. And is that an actual deadlock thing? Yes, it is. So it is starting to emerge as an actual real deadlock there. So the problem is we have this one intersection which with way too many trains trying to get through it. Okay. So how do I fix that? Well, one thing I can do is I can try to minimize the amount of trains going into this intersection. So let's get rid of all this random track from the previous time that I did this. Alright, we're gonna be going on, what, version 3 of this central intersection at this point? Okay, so if we just have, like... If we have shortcuts for the right-hand turns that don't involve going through the intersection proper, but instead go sort of around it, that might help a lot. So, what I mean by that is, if we go out to here, and we grab this track, like, how about there? And then you cut along this way. That should be a shorter path than going through the intersection, so the trains will want to take it. And what did I just see? What on earth? How has that happened? How is that possible? All of this is all connected to itself, right? That is connected back to... Oh my god, this entire side is... That entire side of the factory, everything west of here is just ever so slightly off. Okay. Well, it's way too late to fix that. That would require rebuilding, like, literally everything ever. So I guess we're just gonna be fine with that. But that's pretty terrible. Okay, so let's just ignore that. And hope that we don't have to look at it that much. So you then go in like this. And then you merge up to there. Alright, so now that we have that in, let's see here. We are going to need a path signal there and a... I guess that block signal there is probably fine. But let's get a block signal in there as well. I don't actually know if that path signal is necessary. And I also don't know if that needs to be a block signal or something else. But if we do this on each side, then hopefully that'll work. It'll at least mitigate things a little bit. Alright, so we do that. Then we get the same thing here. So we get a train track, which is going to cut around the central intersection for the purposes of right-hand turns. So you go this way, and over here, and then into there. And then we're going to need some sort of signal in here, like that block signal there, for example. Okay, so now I've managed to break it entirely. How have I done that? Let's see here. Is this... What sort of error is this? Conflicting entry signal types. Oh, right. So this goes in too early. So this needs to go in after the signal. So you go all the way over here. And over to there. And then you go in there. And you get a block signal. And that should be that. Okay, now this corner is somewhat unfortunate. but I can actually... So this corner is unfortunate because all that stuff is in there, but I can make a bigger shortcut even than what we had before. So if you loop around this way... So if you just go in like that, then this thing and that thing is all one intersection, which we don't want. We want a block signal in here, but like further over that way. So let's get that in and then put in our block signal there. All right, so we have that. And hopefully that shortcut will take a lot of those trains off around to that. Instead of having to go through the main intersection, they can just cut around here. Which should speed things up a lot. Okay, so you're going through. And I wonder if... Yeah, I think we need to move these signals further up this way. So that if there's a train waiting here, we can... Of course it won't place properly. So let's just take that out. Get you like there and there. Now we can put a path signal there. Get that path signal out. And we can also move this block signal closer in as well. Maybe? No, apparently not. Yeah, I guess we can do that. That's an improvement. So, now if we put... Okay, that's somewhat surprising, but... So how have we gotten that crash to happen? Okay, so now anyways, trains trying to enter the intersection will stay there. And so then if the train is here, then it can go. And obviously some trains are still going to have to do that, but that's just going to be a thing. Alright, so now we have that collision, which we need to deal with. But this is probably going to do a lot better now. Assuming that the trains can figure out that these paths are shorter, which should be pretty easy to figure out. Okay, this whole thing being path signals is actually kind of a bit bad. Maybe this has to be a block signal, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in the near future when it all breaks and goes horribly wrong. But at least... Okay, we have a train stuck in an intersection up there, so that's not good. I was gonna say that the traffic seems to have been somewhat resolved, but that's just because it's completely broken further up this way. Right, so this is the collision. So, what happened here? We had you and you heading in this way. And, okay. There is quite simply no reason that this collision could possibly happen. The signals prevent it. So, I guess we just I don't know, maybe some weird, like, second order effect happened when I was messing with the signals down there and it broke some stuff. That's the only thing I can imagine. Because this is, like, very obviously should be functional. Alright, so we have that going again. You are waiting in the intersection, because of course you are. Alright, now we've had another collision up here. What is going on? Like, all these collisions are happening in the middle of perfectly legitimate signaled areas. And, like, the trains just decide to not work. I don't understand. It makes no sense. Also, why are you just sitting here? Alright. Guess I had to do that. So now you're going. And now we have to run over this way. And get you started again. And now we have to get you going. And if there are more collisions randomly, I'm going to be so annoyed. Alright, so that is all running now. If these two trains collide... if these two trains collide, I'm going to be so mad. Okay, no, we're good. Trains are going through. No collision there. Now, that train should wait at that stop. Okay, no, this one's turning right, so it's fine. Okay. I don't understand what happened with those collisions, and I haven't been able to just immediately see those same circumstances replaced. So I don't know if it's actually a problem or what. But if we head back to the main intersection now that things are running again, hopefully we should be better off now. Alright, so we can run on over here. So one thing which it might be is I might be, like, running into a problem with how many, like, trains the game expects to be handling. Like, that could very well be a problem, like it's some sort of lag thing or other bug. I hope that isn't the case, because if that is the case, there's really not all that much that I can do about it. I mean, I can optimize a little bit by having individual trains do multiple factories, but there's only so much that can be done, really, in terms of that sort of thing. Okay, so that is an improvement. We can see that those trains are working and they're keeping some stuff out of this. Although I don't know why you're completely stationary here. So you have a block signal. You should be perfectly fine to move into there most of the time. Like, it should be safe right now for you to move forward, even. So I don't know why you're just sitting here. Yeah, why are you just sitting here? Looking at the blocks, that's a block signal, so it should be willing to enter as long as this area is unoccupied. Yeah, not so much that there's a hard limit on how many trains I physically have, but more so just like, extra trains means lag, which means weird things happening, that sort of thing. But hopefully that isn't the case. Alright, so why is this train not moving forwards? I kind of need you to go somewhere. Okay. Your signal is available. Okay, maybe it's because this guy has a path signal to get into this block, so it's counting it as like he has dibs on it. So I might be able to fix that if I go like that, and then move this block signal like all the way back to here, if I can get it to face the right way. Alright, that might do it. So that might have you get sorted out properly. And these trains are going along. Okay, now this is technically waiting in an intersection. Is that a problem? No, I think that's fine, actually, because... yeah, I think that's okay. Because he's going to have to move on before this guy can anyways. Alright. So we have, like, one more of these shortcut routes that we can easily make. So let's just do that. So if we just get you over to there, and then pop you into that, and then you get a block signal there, and you get a block signal in here somewhere as well, which we're gonna have to rebuild that to allow it, because block signals are weird. You get a block signal, and now that whole area is set up. Alright, so that, hopefully, that route probably isn't as much used as the others anyways. So hopefully it's fine. Alright, so this... I mean, unless there's more deadlocks over there, it looks like we have managed to help move that congestion away, so that's cool. Okay, that's that. Alright, I think we're good here. I think that has hopefully helped enough. So let's just make our way back to our hypertube so that we can get back to our power plant. Alright, swap to the jetpack, and off we go. So now we can just fly back over this way, and I wonder if we're going to need to make improvements along that intersection too. Alright, so this gets us to here, and we're back. So, sulfur, we've got sulfur. Quartz is technically here, but not in anywhere near sufficient numbers. Deuterium is going decently well, but we might need to improve that as well. aluminum is nowhere to be seen. And rubber is also showing up. And oil is nowhere to be seen. Okay, so is that train input problem, or is that something else? Alright, no, the plutonium oil train is right there, so it might have just had a longer trip, and I mean, those cars look like they have something in them. I'm not going to be able to catch up before it deposits it, so we'll just see what happens afterwards. And the aluminum has like the furthest trip, so we're just going to have to wait a little bit longer for that. Alright, where would the aluminum be? It could be anywhere. Here it is. It is making its way back over. Slowly but surely. Hopefully not too slowly. Alright, so the oil train is unloading its oil. We'll see how much it brings. Hopefully the answer is full car's worth. We only need like 75, but we do need a steady supply, so if there are interruptions, then that could be an issue. Alright, yeah, no, we are getting plenty of crude oil here. So that shouldn't be a problem. The quartz is probably going to be the biggest problem, based on just the sort of pitiful amount that's shown up so far. So where is plutonium quartz? The aluminum is coming back from there. The quartz is coming out actually right in front of it. And it looks like there shouldn't be that much traffic before they get to here. Okay, the sulfur is showing up as well. So that's cool. And there comes the quartz. We have the center car has literal nothing in it. Let's investigate how much quartz is here. Alright, so yeah, very, very minimal amount of quartz. Which, how much quartz did we need? We needed 300 raw quartz per minute. Well, that's certainly not going to be 300. Alright, so we're just going to have to find some quartz and toss it in to the system. So we have over here 2 quartz nodes, and we used one of them. So where is our existing quartz supply coming from? It's going to be impossible to see here. Let's see if we can Google quartz. We have Northwest quartz, so that's the one source of quartz that we have. And you know, we can probably upgrade those using like Mark III miners. Those are probably pretty old. So we need to head northwest, which means dismantling that hypertube, popping a new one in up this way, and off we go over this way. Okay, so here is the station over here. So we're just gonna fly on over and see what it has for us. Okay, this is the one which clips through the ground to get the quartz easily. And okay, actually this has actually a lot of quartz in it. At least it's somewhat unevenly distributed. but I think we might just need to send another train in. 2, 3, 4, 5. All the trains ever. So you are going to be northwest, quartz 2, and you go from quartz hub to northwest quartz, and you can just go like that. So that should be that, but then we do also have a bit of an input limitation. So we're going to have to drop down, and we're going to need to make our way around because these guys just come out of a hole in the ground where there's a cave. So we need to head up north because that's where the cave entrance that I know where it is. There's like 3 cave entrances here, but the only one I can reasonably find consistently is that one. Right, that's not the cave entrance, that's just a weird little canyon thing. The actual cave entrance is very small, but I have a belt coming out of it, so it's easy to find. So we just follow this belt, and it will take us into a cave, and that cave will have quartz in it. Okay, the belt is going the wrong way. That's something that I hadn't considered. So we're going to have to dismantle that and rebuild it like that. Alright, now we're in the cave. We can just sort of hop along this way until we make it to wherever the quartz is. Alright, so we're in here. Just have to keep on going about how cramped this cave is. I really need to just like memorize where the other entrances are because they're much larger and easier to get in. Alright, so this quartz here, we've got Mark II miners at 600. So we can make you a Mark III miner, and we can make you a Mark III miner, and then we just need to throw the power shards back in and get these belts upgraded. So there we go. Power shards, check. Now I tried doing the whole infinite length lift here and it really didn't work, which is going to cause this to be marginally more complicated than it needs to be. Alright, so those get upgraded all the way up to there. And now I just need to leave, which, let's go this way. Pretty sure this is going to take me a decent amount of distance. Pretty sure this is further than the tiny route that I use to access it normally, but it's also much more spacious and less annoying. Alright, so we go around this way, and here we are. You can see the sky out here, and also a random factory that I have. Can't remember what factory this is. It might be like smart plating or something. Alright, let's make our way back over this way, because we need to upgrade the rest of the belts. I like a Mercer Sphere. Don't badly need Mercer Spheres anymore, but may as well grab them. We have 10. Realistically, that should be enough for everything I need for the rest of the game. Unless I start going and upgrading some places with the double dimensional depots. Which, to be fair, I could very well do. for some of the things that need a lot of it, like, I don't know, like wire, for example. Alright, so let's get these quartz belts upgraded. And we just have to make sure not to miss anything. So if we miss even a single spot on these belts, the entire thing will only work at 780. But if we can get everything, then it'll be great. Alright, so now we fly up, get these upgrades going, and we just keep going. Alright, let's stop here to recharge the fuel. And back up we go. So we just have to get all of these guys all the way up. And they're starting to spread out a lot, which is somewhat inconvenient. Alright, I think we got all of them upgraded. Now we just need to land one more time before we fall to our death. And now we just have to get the upgrades up here, which we can swap back to hover pack mode. So you get to be Mark 6 lift. You get to be a Mark 6 lift. And then we're going to upgrade this whole belt. And we're going to upgrade this entire belt. And then let's upgrade all of these guys just in case. Because you never know. Alright. Okay, we need to get you. And did I miss a similar one over here? No, we got that one. Alright, so that should be plenty of quartz. So assuming the output is up to the task, which we added a second train in, so it should be. We should be all ready to go. So yeah, we're getting a train in now, and it should be entirely filled, I think. This is the centermost one, and it's got 4 rows. I'm pretty sure that's... These guys have like 3 rows, right? Yeah, no, they have 4 rows. So we are sending out a fully filled up quartz train. And there we go. So this is going to be... Previously this was 1200 a minute, now it's 2400 a minute. It's going to be slightly lower than that because we haven't set up our buffers correctly, but that's fine. Doesn't need to be that high probably. Alright, and you're off. Actually, you know what, let's get the buffers in. It's pretty easy, so we just take you out. Pop a storage container in there. And then get that connected across. And we have to do the same thing up here, which is going to be considerably more difficult. Alright, so then we do the same thing up there. And then that goes across. So this is going to be filled at like 600 a minute and empty at like 600 a minute under ordinary circumstances. But when there's a train in here, this is going to be filled at 1200 a minute. And so then it'll empty at 1200 a minute until it's emptied. And so that buffer will get this whole thing functional at 100%. Or at least it should be 100% probably. If not, it'll be very, very close to it, which is still good enough. So that is 2400 quartz a minute. And now we can respawn and head back down to our plutonium power plant. And there's probably going to be other things that we're short of, which we'll have to figure that out in a minute. Now I see a question mark. Is that one of the ones which is normal? There are a couple that are just normal because we have 2 trains where we probably only need 1. Yeah, so this is one of those spots. So this is some factory or other, and it has 2 nitrogen trains because I thought that was the bottleneck, but it turned out the bottleneck was actually aluminum, so we had to go and fix that. And either way, it should all work out. Alright, so now we can just head across the street to the plutonium power plant site, where we have more resource collection to do, because we need to grab some of the local stuff, like the iron and the copper. They're just like in the area, so we didn't train in. Alright, so we're here now. That train leaving is Caterium, which looks like this is mostly full. Yes, there's like spots of 2 there, except for the last one for some reason, which is slightly different. So don't know what all that's about, but I'm sure it's not a big deal. Alright, so in terms of resources, we have sulfur, check. Quartz, check. Oil, check. Deuterium, check. So, we need to get nitrogen. Did I remember to get nitrogen? Is there nitrogen in this area? Maybe, but I don't know how much. So we do need to add a nitrogen train onto this, I think. Or no, I think we were gonna hopefully be relying on our existing drones system for supplying nitrogen. Alright, so yeah, let's assume that that's probably good. And then we need to get copper, limestone, iron, and water from the local area. So that shouldn't be too bad. But where are we going to do this? Are we going to do this up here at train level? Probably because we don't want to mess with this space here. I guess we can just build down from the trains. I don't know. Where do we need the water for? Is that like very early processes? We need some for sulfuric acid. We need some of the water for nitric acid, and that's it. Okay. So that's actually fine. We should be able... Let's just build down from the train level, use the water when we need to, and then have all this stuff up here. So we'll be bringing copper, limestone, iron, and nitrogen and water up to here. But then, hang on, we're going to have to then immediately send all of the actual output right back down to sea level to go into the power plants. No, that's dumb. Let's not do that. Let's bring all this down. But we don't really have access to ground level, though. I guess we can build this just on top of the uranium power plant. We do have some space there to work. And we need to have some space left over for the Fixonium power plant, which I guess can just go on top of this one. Alright, let's gather the local resources next before we worry about that, I think. I think it'll be easier just when we have all the resources in 2 places, then we can figure out where we're going to be taking them all to get started. Alright, so we go down here, and then all the way in this basement is where we have our drone ports, which are going to clip all the way through the entire planet. So this is taking in 174 packaged nitrogen per minute, and this packaging does like 106 per minute. We're going to need 1,200 nitrogen gas per minute, which is going to be like 300 packaged nitrogen gas per minute, which is probably fine. So let's get that packaging done down here. So we need a smart splitter off of this. So you're going to be center any, left overflow, and that can creep around to somewhere. Let's just build it over here on the other end of this row of belts, I guess. Alright, so we just go over here. We get all that set up. And blow up the tree. Alright. Packager. Packager is going to unpackage nitrogen gas. You're going to be max overclocked to do 600 per minute. So we just need 2 of you, and that will be that. So let's get you connected to power, and that power pole is too small. This one is better. So we're going to need 300 there, and so we need like 326. So this is going to need to be a fast belt. Although it doesn't need to be that fast. Mark 4 would be enough. So you go up a bit, then over to here, and then you just go down and into the machines like so. So, next up, we need to merge these guys up to collect the canisters and then send them back in. So that is going to go around this way, up over the belt lines, and then around this way, and then you just get a merger where you're all going to connect up like that. Alright, so that is that, and hopefully this nitrogen gas supply will be able to handle it. It should be fine, hopefully. But I guess we'll find out in a moment when everything breaks or doesn't break. One of those two things will happen, and depending on what happens, then we'll know. Alright, so these... Actually, wait. These are each 600, so they can't get connected up. They're going to be 2 separate pipes. Alright, so we can just take that out, and you can then go over to there, and you can go over to there, and then we'll do something with them once we have the rest of the stuff set up. So next up, we need 151 iron ore, and that should be easily accessible by just yoinking one of these guys, which is over by the thermal propulsion rocket factory, because of course it is. I feel like I might be using the swamp too much. I feel like I might at some point need to move out of the swamp. So this is 240 a minute. And it's powered up. So let's get this out. We only need 151 per minute, which indicates Mark III belt. And we're going to bring that somewhere over this way. And where exactly? Who knows? Probably going to head further north. Or maybe we'll just go directly up past the uranium power plant and just literally stack it on top like that. Alright. So we have that. Next up is limestone. We've got a pure limestone node off to the west, which we need 660 of, so we use just slightly more than half. If only the map had unlimited space. I mean, it realistically basically does. Like, if the more vertical you go, you're never going to run out of space if you just layer things on top of each other. It's just a question of how convenient that space is, and as opposed to like some of this space is slightly easier to use than others. Alright, so that's our limestone node that we were looking for. You get max overclocked, and there should be some power poles around here, I would think. Okay. That needs to be upgraded, and then that can be connected up. Alright, so now we have our 1200 limestone, which we can just bring on over. So get this in the general vicinity of where we're going. And then we're going to have to find a way to sneak it around all the rest of the stuff. Alright, so this goes up this way. And I think that's my iron belt that I just made, so I guess I'll bring this over to there. And that can be our sort of central-ish location. There we go. Iron check, limestone check. Next up we need 90 copper ore, which we have a couple copper nodes in here, and surely one of them is going to have some spare. So let's head back over to the west. And where are you, copper ore? Just sort of this way. Okay, it's going to be this one. Alright, this is... Okay, yeah, so this is a miner Mark III on a pure node, and it's not max overclocked. It's not even using the full power of what it is currently overclocked to. So let's speed you all the way up, just so that we definitely have enough. I'm going to put a smart splitter with an overflow output. And then we're going to take this belt out as well. And this is 90 a minute, so we can actually just have this be a Mark II belt, just for fun. So this can follow along with our limestone belt. And just go over this way. and around over to here. Alright, so that is iron, copper, and limestone all brought together. We have our crude oil, deuterium, sulfur, and raw quartz, and rubber up above us. And we just need to get 300 some water as well. And then, okay, that's bauxite. So we just need to get some water, which maybe this will be deep enough. No, it's not. Right, this is the annoying part about the swamp, is that everywhere looks like it might be water, but not everywhere is actually water. This has got to be... I could have sworn I saw it flicker blue for just a second in here. Okay. So we definitely have space for water in there. And if you're max overclocked, you're 300. We need this to be 360 something. So I guess we will overclock you a little bit. And then find some more space. I saw it flicker blue. I definitely saw it flicker blue for a second. Let's see if just chucking some explosives in here will help. So we're just going to get rid of some of the local plant life. Get rid of a poison pillar. And where was this? Not deep enough. Alright, over here is way better. There. Alright, we got it in. So we're gonna give you 2 of those. And then overclock you a little bit. So now we just need to get these powered on. So we can connect over to that power pole for you. And then I guess just keep bringing this along for the other one. There we go. Water, check. Okay, now where are we? The other belts that we have are over there, so I guess let's just bring these in that direction. And why is that invalid placement? Because of that random chunk of quartz that's in the way. Alright, let's sneak these pipes underneath all of that stuff. Because that stuff is already pretty high up in the air. And then these pipes are going to go around this bauxite. And over to here. Alright, now we have everything we need in approximately one place, except... Okay, yeah, and the nitrogen is just up here. Alright, so let's work out how we're going to get up above everything. So we need what? These 2 water pipes can combine up into one, because unlike the nitrogen, they aren't more than a full pipe's worth. So you guys can do that, and then you're probably going to need pumps as well. Well, you're definitely going to need pumps at some point, but you might need them as early as this. So let's just give you pumps in there. So now you definitely have enough head lift to get up at least this far, and then a little bit more than that. Alright, so we need just some empty space where we can build stuff. Okay, so over here we can see all the way up to not quite the sky, but the factory the factories directly above us. So if we go up through here, we can do that. So let's get that set up. So we need to take probably just like this one, and you are going to need a copper belt, an iron belt, a limestone belt, and you're going to need a water pipe and 2 nitrogen pipes. So, if we just do that, then we should be good. This is the thermal propulsion rocket factory, isn't it? It looks like it's functioning properly, which is cool. I think we've had problems with it in the past because of aluminum. Alright, so let's just get these guys walled down this way so that we can just have that. Alright, so that wall is where they need to follow. And actually, is this... that sink is gonna be in the way a bit. Can we squeeze you in ever so slightly? Yeah, we can. Alright, so that sink goes out. That belt goes out. And you are just gonna go in like that. And then get powered right back up. And that should give us enough space. So this wall comes down to here. And here we go. Cover all this stuff in, and we're good. Alright. So, what we need is... we need to... why can I not see them? Because there's another wall overhanging us. So we need these guys to go down to like here-ish. And I think we just want them to continue going down exactly in place. Which means more floor holes. So they are there, 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 and then 1, 2, and 3. I have no confidence that those floor pipes are going to work, by the way. It seems like exactly the sort of situation that would mysteriously bug out for no reason. Oh wait, these need to go up, not down. These belts need to go up, not down. So let's hit the good old reverse button. And... okay, this one is still backwards somehow. Right, so we have to drag it from top to bottom when we're in reverse mode like that. Okay, so now for the pipes. This is gonna cause a bug no matter what we do, right? So if you, I guess we need to have a section of pipe like that. Because if you have the pipe go into... if you try to drag a pipe out of a floor hole or a ceiling hole, it bugs. So you have to have them go into the floor hole or ceiling hole. Which means doing something like this should make it work. I'm not confident on that, though. Alright, so we just need to bring this down a little bit further. So down to like this area. And then we put another row of these guys in. And then a row of these guys. Alright. So now the lifts come down. And we're almost there. The water pipes come down. Like that, and like that. And there we go. A little bit more. Alright. Now at this point, we should be low down enough to just go the rest of the way just naturally. Oh wait, I dragged that out. Oh wait, the other side of the pipe is already built, so it's probably fine to drag this out of the floor holes now. So the pipes come down to there. Then we have our belts, which are going to come down to here. And now we just have to get all these guys over to this area. Which is not exactly how they were lined up to work, but shouldn't exactly be hugely difficult either. So you just sort of wrap around this way. And you just sort of wrap around this way. And now I'm using all Mark 6 belts, but whatever. Then the iron just sort of wraps around this way. And then it's all going to go up. So that goes up to there. And now you're saying you're too steep. Okay, so then you can just go up preemptively like that. And like that. And now you can just sort of wrap around. And are those all gonna... yeah, okay, they're gonna do that, huh? Let's get a foundation in that these guys can go up to instead, so that we can have a bit more control over this. So you go up like that, you go up like that. Then we go bam and bam. Alright, so finally the fluids. We need to find our water pipe and bring it on over. So then it can get up onto there and then go into that. Alright, so we're going to have to put a pump on that to get it working. But before we do that, let's bring the nitrogen over. Which this probably isn't going to line up properly, because I'm pretty sure that that wall was dragged off of the thermal propulsion rocket factory. Missed the thing. Oh, is that one of the indestructible ones? That's one of the indestructible ones, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that, yeah, some of these guys might be indestructible, and we can just sort of go around them anyways, so even if they are, it doesn't really matter. Alright, so this goes around to here. And then we just sort of have to go around this way. And then we actually need to lose some height real quick. I guess, yeah, let's go down here. And you can come down to here. And then these guys need to twist around the corner and in. So So then you need to get around the corner onto the other side of the wall. And then up and in. Alright, little bit cursed, but whatever. We're never going to be looking at this part of the factory anyways. Alright, so next step is the water pipe. Is this going to show us how far up it can go? So it fills that pipe up entirely, but doesn't do anything with that one. Bit suspicious. If we take you out... Right, so this did end up having that problem, potentially. Where it looks like it's connected up, but it's actually not for some reason. So let's reconnect you. It's also possible that this foundation is just precisely on the point where the head lift runs out. But actually it looks like the head lift runs out down here somewhere. So this is like mostly full, that's completely empty. So if I just put the pump on there, and then bring the power pole over to there. Are you working? Yes, you are showing big numbers. That's what we love to see. And then you're going to drop off a little bit as the head lift cap gets reached. Which can bring us up to there. So let's put that in, and then reach across to some random power line. So now you're going all the way up to here. And then you get attached up to some random power line. And then we're just about where we need to be. Alright. So that is that. The nitrogen is here, the water is here. The various solid resources are here. So now we just need to... Just for logical purposes, I want this to be aligned based off of the nuclear power plant foundation and not off of the thermal propulsion rocket foundation. So we're going to bring this over to here and have the wall come off of this so that it's aligned up properly. Now we get this in, and that's not lined up at all. So that is lined up, so we can just pop that in. And that is going to be probably where we organize up all of our resources onto this level. So let's just get a bit of extra space in. And let's just make this a big 2x2 block. Alright, so that should be a good starting point for this. Let's just grab a power line. There we are. Alright, so we have our power. We have all this stuff. Let's just check, by the way. Everything here looks fully functional, which is nice. Alright, so let's just bring these guys up to here. So they are going to have to come out of there and go all the way over to this side. And then up a little bit more. Which they're going to have to do... Actually, we can still use floor holes for this. So we're just going to have that go out like there. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So that should be everything that we need, and then we just drag these down. Oh, wrong hotbar. So this is going to be not quite aligned properly because it's off of 2 separate foundations, but that's fine. So those come down to there. And we're going to need to arrange these guys to move around further to line up properly. So then you come over to here. And then you come over to there. Alright. So that is that. Now we have our pipelines, which we need to do. So these are going to go in like that. And like that. And what have I done? I think I clicked one too many times there. And then out like that. And then these just go up into the floor hole up there. Alright. Flag spike. But we're fine. And we have everything built. So why do you go straight through? Did I not build you correctly? Do I have to dismantle you and try again? I don't know why those were sticking through the ceiling. Okay, so if we just grab you off of that and then bring you down, you should connect up. Okay, if we just... Okay, when we put the tops on, it looks normal. Alright, cool. So that is that, and we have our fluid pipes. So next step, we have to go all the way up to here, over to there actually, and bring our stuff down from the trains. So let's get a wall up for that. Wall, and up you go. So this wall is just going to go all the way up to there, and we're going to need to move power poles onto this wall so that we can hover with it, because jetpack is going to be too annoying for this process that we're going to be doing. So there, and we just keep on going up. And just keep on going. Almost there. Alright. And that's... I mean, at this point, we're probably good enough that we're just going to want to bring this stuff over. Alright, so yeah, now we're here. We're just a little bit below the train level, which is good. And we're going to bring the foundation over this way. and you're going to come on over here. And now we have to get all these resources down onto that so that they can be nice and organized. So, first up is sulfur. We need 350 sulfur a minute, so that's going to be just a single super fast belt. Actually, not even a super fast belt. We could just do like a Mark IV if we wanted to. So let's get these belts in and just drag them along. Alright, so then we just have a floor hole out here. And sulfur, check. And let's get... Actually, no, we're just going to have to bring all those floor holes together. Oh, almost got hit by a train. We're going to have to merge all those floor holes together onto the floor next, after we have all of them in place all at once. Alright, so this one is the quartz, and we needed, like, what, 300 of that? So more Mark IV belts. So we just have to get all of these so that whichever station happens to be bringing the most quartz, we can always grab it from this. So these all get connected up. And then they go down into the floor. There we are. Quartz done. Next we have aluminum, which we need 290 a minute apparently, so slightly less than the quartz. Still needs a Mark IV belt. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this all gets lined up. And there we go. Now we get a floor hole. Aluminum done. Next up we have the rubber, which, where's the rubber? Rubber, where are you? Yes, we need 351 point something. So that's going to be another Mark IV. I just realized the one important thing that we're missing, which we need to bring the uranium waste up. Forgot about that completely. That's like the most important part. That's the reason we're here. So yeah, let's get all this together. And like that. Alright, so then the rubber goes down into a floor hole. And these floor holes aren't all lined up properly, but it'll be fine. And then the crude oil here is 75 per minute, which is basically nothing. So we're just going to connect all these guys up and give them a pipe. There we go. So this pipe connects all the crude oil up. And there we are. Now we get our floor hole, which goes down. So the good news is that we're not going to have to worry about headlift on the crude oil, because it's going to have basically infinite because it's coming out of this. Alright, so that is all in. Now we can drop down to here and run this foundation across. So this foundation needs to go all the way down to this. And we need a pipe to come out of it. and connect up like that. Alright, so that's crude oil, check. Then all the rest of these guys were like Mark IVs. So that comes down to there. As does that. And then we have to go over this way as well. And we get this one coming down. And we have to go even further over here to get this one. Alright, you need to be pointed this way. Alright, so we have 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4 solids and a liquid. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4. We should have 5 solids and a liquid. We've missed one. Ah, we skipped right past the Deuterium. Alright, so that's another Mark IV. So this is going to get all this stuff in. Just got to do this. And then the Mark IV input belts. There we are. All the clicking. And then this comes down, I don't know, there somewhere. And bam. Alright, so now we have 5 solids and a liquid. So let's set up those belts here. So we're going to start on the very edge, just in case we need the space. And we do that. That's belt number 1. Then we need to just get the conveyor poles in. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5 solids. And then I guess we're going to have to run another row for the crude oil. Or we could do something really sneaky with it, but that doesn't seem necessary. Alright. So, we are going to head over here with these ones. And they can go to straight mode. And just go over that way. And then this one we're going to need... Yeah, we're actually going to need all of these to have their bits that way just to define the direction they're heading. And then you turn around that way. You 3 go this way. Alright, so now we just have to get them all connected up, which can just sort of do whatever. Alright, off we go, and then you... Okay, we actually went too far for you. That's fine. Again, you can just sort of connect up however. The chat stopped scrolling. Gotta fix that real quick, just in case I missed something. Alright, so then we go there. And then this goes down this way. Oh, I forgot to put this part in for the Deuterium. That's important. So we need a floor there, and then we need this to go down into the floor, which means that this actually needs to come around to there. And then this needs to actually go into there. And then we need to grab all the aluminum off of this belt, because that's the Deuterium belt. Alright, so now this just goes like that. And we get our crude oil pipe going along over to here. Alright, so that is all of that stuff lined up. And now we need to just send it over this way and down that whole giant cliff. So that is going to be a bit of work. So let's start going. We've got you. All go forwards. There we go. And there's all the solids. Now we get the liquid. And let's just get the liquid all the way out to here first. And then we swap back to working with the solids. So they go all the way out to here. And then they're just gonna sort of go over the ledge. And I think these ones are just gonna go down without floor holes, just because it's a much longer distance. Although it would be nice to confine this to be relatively close to this. Yeah, okay, let's put floor holes in. Yes, we just do that. The power hole there doesn't look great, but it's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now all of these are going to go down like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we get a pipeline floor hole, which is going to go down to there. Alright, let's expand this wall so that it can go all the way down for the crude oil. And then we're going to have to just bring all these guys up. Alright, so then that goes down to there. Okay, so let's start with a floor like there-ish. And just get this last chunk in. Like that. And like that. So these come down, and they need to be outputting this time. So we just go like this. And done. And then we have our pipe, which goes up into that. Alright. So that is that. Then we have this, which is going to go all the way up to like here apparently. So let's get some foundations in for that. And, oh, we need to actually put the floor holes into these foundations first. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now these should be Mark 4s, I think, just for consistency. And they go all the way up to here. There we go. Alright, then we have our fluids, which go like that. And they have a little segment there, and then they connect up to either side there. Alright, let's just get the fluids all the way up. Although, no, we should do the solids first, because those are the ones which are going to be the limiting factor in terms of where you put the intermediate floors. So you go up to like there, and then we get that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then these go up. How far is this going to go? This is going to have to go really far. Okay. Noted. Okay, at this point, we're probably high up enough to just not have the floors anymore. I don't know, we'll do one more set with floors, probably. Although at that point, who knows? Alright, so that goes up. Yeah, we're just gonna keep doing it like this the whole way. I think it looks slightly better than the other way. Alright, so then this goes all the way up. And they all connect. Alright, up we go. Okay, we might have a mild shortage of encased industrial beams. Hopefully not too bad. It looks like it's doing fine though. Alright, so up to here. Put the foundation in there. And then we put all of these guys in. There we are. And up we go. We are making good progress. Okay. Thought there was a lag spike, but actually I just wasn't moving my finger far enough. Okay, this one isn't placed quite correctly. You need to be over to there in order to work properly. There we go. Alright, probably just like one more intervening floor. Yeah, this has gotta be just about there. So this goes in, and we are gonna get those all set up. And up we go. Alright, almost there. Alright, now, if all goes well, yes, so now we can just connect up to there, and then the resources will start heading on down. Alright, so now we get the fluids. So the crude oil, there's only one thing, but it is marginally more complicated to build. So we get that. And then we get that. And up to there, down to there. Then we go down another floor. You go along like that, up to there, and down to there. Just a couple more now. We had done a couple of the lower floor ones preemptively. So those combine up. And yeah, so this should be the last one that we need to do. We just need that up to there and down to there. And then we should have oil going all the way down here. And sure enough, it filled up basically instantly. So now we have everything except the uranium waste. So let's go find the uranium waste and figure out how it's coming on over. So the uranium waste is all the way over there, and I guess we can just extend this foundation over in that direction and then drop down and grab it that way. So this is going to involve being out of range of power for quite a bit of a journey. So maybe we should have just like grabbed power to bring with us. Oh yeah, no, especially if I'm going to just accidentally jump off. Let's switch back to jetpack, get back on. And we need to go a little bit further this way. And then we need to go over to the left. So we head on over this way. And off we go. Okay, so now if we drop down from here, then that will be where we're headed. So we need a Mark 6 belt going off this way. And we also need said belt to be coming down from here. And we need to land on it every so often. And yeah, now we are in the radioactive waste zone. Very much. So this just comes down to here. And a little bit further. Let's see, we need it to be like there-ish. Should be fine enough. Alright, so what we need to do now is we want to set this up in a way that the storage remains unfilled even as we use this. So let's make all these guys smart splitters. And don't just stack a smart splitter on top of the existing one. So these are all smart splitters. And they are going to be center any right overflow, which, okay, we need to make sure that this actually gets all of them, which is not going to be easy because it's going to be hard to tell which ones actually have the setting and which ones don't. So what this will do is all of the waste will flow past the storage zone, and then if we ever need to use the storage zone because the plutonium plant has failed for whatever reason, then it will back up into the storage area and start filling them, I guess, from this side first, which is a little bit different from how it was filling previously, but it doesn't really make a difference. So this just goes around to there, and then in. Alright, so that is our radioactive waste, and it is going to come all the way up here. And thank goodness for the iodine-infused filters, because otherwise I would be so incredibly dead at all times right now. Do I have any radioactive waste in my inventory? Yes, I do. That's annoying. We're going to need to get that out of my inventory, which the only way of doing that is by popping it in a storage container. There we go. And then I guess we might as well use it. So let's merge that storage container into this. And then we do that. Alright, so now this no longer has radioactive waste in it. Neither does that. And we just need to continue dragging this along until we make it there. Alright, so here we go. We're up to the corner. Now we take the corner. And we go back down to default mode. And we just keep going. Just keep going. Place a belt every so often. We're probably almost back within an area where we have power again. I'm not going to switch back just now. Autosave. Let's be nice and safe on the ground when the autosave hits. I happened to notice that coming in advance for once. Alright, now we should be... Yeah, so now we have power again. Just barely, but we have it. So this belt comes all the way up here. And then it's just going to have to sort of zigzag around that wall. And there it is. Alright, we officially have all the ingredients for this factory in one place. So, I guess we get started. So, first of all, let's deal with the fluids first, so that we don't have to mess with them quite as much. So water and sulfur makes sulfuric acid in 7 refineries, which we're going to do 8 refineries. So we go blueprint, or maybe 9 refineries. Heavy oil residue recipe, that's the wrong one. So this would be 2 to 2, which is not what we need. Alright, this is 2 inputs to fluid. This is what we're looking for. Found it eventually. So you can go to default build mode. And let's just jam in a blueprint to that. And then let's get more foundations out this way. And get another blueprint of that. Which, please connect up. Is that right? Yes, that should be correct. So we just pop you in like that. And then we have to set the recipes to sulfuric acid. And we need 50 sulfuric acid. Why does that say... Oh, okay, no, yeah, we need another 300 for a different part of the recipe. Right, I was going to say, why does that say we only need 50? We need 350. There's another line coming off of it. Alright, so this is set to... not select recipe. This is set to 350 divided by 8, which is just ever so slightly less. So we paste this across. There we go. Alright, let's get the power lines in. So there we go. Power lines are in. And none of this is especially fancy in terms of the speed. It's 43 there. Do we have to accelerate this belt in here? If I can look at it. Yes, I think we do. I think that needs to be 80. Alright, so those upgrades are in. And now we just have to figure out which one of these guys is the sulfur. Is it you? Oh wait, no, the sulfur is over here. Right. So this belt comes along this way. And it goes into here. Where it goes there. And there. And we just need to get it to line up properly. Alright, sulfur, check. And then we take our water pipe, which apparently we messed up somehow. So let's rebuild you. And it's the far left one. There we go. So you go up to there, and we have water, and we have sulfur. So that should be sulfuric acid. Yeah, so the water is showing up, and it's going to take it a little bit to trickle through the entire thing, but we should have plenty of spare water. We have like 480 in that pipe, and this is going to be needing like 350. So we should be in the clear there. And so then we get 350 sulfuric acid out. Cool. So the other thing we need the water for is nitric acid, which is going to be a bit of a process because we need... it's going to be a whole looping thing, so we're going to have to leave off the extra 16 water, almost 17 water that we need for that. Alright, so we'll leave that be for now. Then the next... actually, no, let's start working along those lines. So the next thing we need is raw quartz, which is going to be just all put into constructors to make some silica. Now, unfortunately, the sulfur there is not in the most convenient spot, but it's fine. We're going to have to do some stuff to get it to work anyways. Alright, so the quartz, we need you to just sort of go up a little bit and over, and then you can just go back down immediately again. So now we just need a constructor blueprint. Where are our constructor blueprints? You'd think they'd be easy to find, but apparently not. Apparently not. Constructors, okay, iron wire uses constructors, right? Yes. So let's get some of these down, and we're going to need 16 constructors Technically only 13, but 16 will be a much easier ratio. So we set these in blueprint auto connect mode, which apparently doesn't even work for this, but whatever. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so these need to be set to silica recipe. Silica, and it's going to be 500 divided by 16. So again, just slightly less than maximum power. So we just paste this across, and those are all set up. Alright, so let's get power into the machines next. So you go back there. It's always weird making a brand new factory for the first time, because it's just slightly different from how it would be if you were in the middle of building a factory, which is obviously where you spend most of your time in this game. Alright, so each of these batches of 4 is going to be, let's see, so that's less than 20, so this is just less than 40, so this is just less than 80 coming out of that. Alright, not bad at all. So those two go in, and the belts go across there and there. And then that means that these are just going to be just less than 160, which means Mark III belts there and there. And then a Mark IV belt back to the quartz supply. Alright, so that is that. And we can combine this up. Apparently that's a Mark V belt already. So we can combine all of this up and sync it. We can't do that with the sulfuric acid because it's a fluid and fluids are annoying. But we can do it with this. So let's get a large amount of extra space over there. We're probably going to need it eventually. And just pop a sink in. Connect it. Actually, wait, you need a smart splitter. There we go. Connected and powered. Hello? Powered. There we go. And each of these individually don't produce all that much, so that will work. Alright, so we have silica. We have sulfuric acid. We have uranium waste. So we can just, immediately go ahead and make non-fissile uranium in a giant chunk of blenders. So let's we're going to need so much space for that. That's going to be 20 blenders, which I guess we'll just build 20 of them. We could power shard. Actually, power shards was broken, right? Yeah, our power shard factory isn't functional currently. Which I could just go and do yet another side quest. But I'm not gonna. Alright, so this blender has, what, 2 solid inputs, and does it have water input, or is that just a water output? I don't know. I think this is the correct one for what we're doing here. I don't know. Let's place it down and see. Alright, so we're going swap you over to non-fissile uranium. Okay, so this recipe has 2 outputs, which the blueprint here doesn't manage, but it does have the correct number of inputs, so that should be fine. So let's get them powered, and Okay, wait, no, this does have 2 fluid inputs. Okay, so yeah, we do need to dismantle that then, and hopefully that's what this one does. Alright, yes, so this one does indeed take 2 solid and 2 fluid inputs, but it still only has space for the solid output, not the fluid output. And then adding on to the complexity here is we need to set the recipe again. Where are you? Non-fissile uranium. So this produces water, which we're going to need to use to craft the nitric acid and some other things. And let's see here. So yeah, I guess this isn't like a direct loop like the alumina solution does. So this outputs water, which is used to make nitric acid, which is then used to make the uranium. Which, actually, is that just the same thing? Yeah, I think that is actually just the same thing as the aluminum loop. So that's unfortunate. And then there's like a tiny amount of extra water being put in, which is unfortunate. Alright, this is going to be a whole thing, I can tell. Let's just get these guys in. And you know what, let's see here. If we have 4 of these, times 2.5 would be 10. So if we just have 8 of these, we can max overclock them and get to the full 20 that we need. And that does seem a whole lot easier and more space efficient. So let's get this blueprint in there. And then get this last one. And there we are. Alright, so we're going to have to go on yet another side quest to figure out what's wrong with the power shards. But first, let's finish this up. I left a dismantle grate here. How did that happen? Just 6 quick wire for some reason. Alright, so now we just paste these. Actually, let's get the overclocking in. So we do that, and we now paste these settings across. And this is going to be a lot of non-fissile uranium that we're producing here. Because we have, what, 2, 4, 6, 8 of these times that. Yeah, so it's, okay, it's 1,000 non-fissile uranium. So it's just 1-to-1 with the waste. Okay, no, it's not 1-to-1 with the waste. What's going on with that? Oh, we're not using all the waste in this. We're using the other 250 waste for the plutonium pellets. Got it. I remember that that was a thing. Alright, so we just have to get these guys all powered up. Okay, so let's get these pipes together. And wait, I'm dumb. We don't have the nitric acid. We have the sulfuric acid, but not the nitric acid. So we can't actually set this up fully functional yet. Although the nitric acid is just water, nitrogen gas, iron plates. So yeah, it shouldn't be that bad to get those stapled in. We're gonna need to make some plates, but that will be fine. Oh boy, the train system has collapsed again. Alright, fine, I'll go fix that. So we're gonna respawn and figure out what has gone wrong with our trains. So is it something in here with this? Alright. What's going on here? So none of these guys seem to be the source of the problem. The source of the problem seems to be over that way. So all these guys are trying to get into the intersection and they can't because this guy is here. Okay, so this block, first of all, minor fix. That block needs to be slightly longer to fit him entirely in. Now that is certainly not the problem, but it might get like one train through here. Apparently not. Well. Alright, so the problem is over this way. Over to the east, where we actually just were. So let's see if we can find it. It might have to do with the trains over here. Okay, wait. No, now you're moving. What the? Okay, it looks fine-ish now. Well, at least some of this stuff is going. I don't know if all the stuff further east is going, but all this stuff in here is. So who knows why that happened. Okay, let's just hop on this train since it's headed the right direction. And gosh, riding on trains is actually so much easier when you have the jetpack. The hoverpack makes it a nightmare. Alright, so we're heading over here, and so far, I mean, everything looks like it's running. These guys are waiting, but they're waiting for stuff which is actively happening. So that looks fine to me. Yeah, so those trains are moving on, and their exclamation points are dissolving, but it's this stuff over to the west and north, which is apparently having the issues that are actually staying issues. Although, again, there are trains moving around over there. Alright, let's respawn one more time. And head on over to this. So these guys are all stuck waiting. Now, why, though? Okay, the answer is that they actually aren't. They're moving now. The worst kind of problem is one that just mysteriously vanishes on its own, because then you have no way of knowing that the problem won't show back up again in the future. Alright, are you able to get past there? Yes, you are. That's great. Alright, so now all of this seems to be going again, except maybe the stuff up there by the oil might still be having problems. Or they might just be taking extra time to get set up. Alright, let's run on over. Okay. It looks like whatever happened has largely disappeared. That turbomotor aluminum might be a problem. That line up there doesn't seem to be an issue. Alright. There's a small chance that we're going to have to take drastic measures and like split the entire train system into multiple pieces in order to just have less trains on the tracks. We can also... There's some other sort of sneakier stuff that we can do to fix it in the short term, like moving more of the hubs off to like corners where less trains will have to go through the center and more can go around the edge. But it looks like Looks like most things are technically running, except there's one train here. It's this train specifically. Has been waiting for ages, but that's probably nothing. It's probably just a train which isn't getting priority to move. Okay, really the problem is still just that this center intersection is very slow. So we really need this bit here to just go faster. Which I don't know how we do that. Because I mean it's pretty slow all the way through the main row. Like, even if we shortcut past the intersection, that would only do so much. Now, why are you just sitting here like a fool? You are the aluminum to bauxite train. You're probably headed right over to there. Yeah, this intersection is very much not optimal. Alright, so what if we created another shortcut directly across somehow? Like if we take that center bit off and then we instead have them go down and then merge back up over there, would that help? That might help a little bit. Yeah, let's see if we can do that. So, what we need is just like right back here, where we have plenty of space, we need a ramp. Okay, not under walls. We need a ramp here. Just a 1 meter ramp, which goes down like this and goes down far enough that the trains don't bump their head on anything. So you can go down to there, and that hopefully will be far enough. And then you go down like that. So now we just need this to come down the ramp and over this way and over this way. Alright, so that then just comes along to here. And then it's going to need to start coming back up over here somewhere. So let's just get that same sized ramp over here, which I believe it was just a full 10 meters down. Okay, that's going to be too close to this other thing going above it, which we might be able to move. I don't know, let's see. It might be fine anyways. It might be that we've given plenty of headroom and it's not a problem. Or it could be that this is too close. Alright, so if we just like pop a train onto here, it's definitely clipping through, but it's also very, very close to being fine. So if we just take this whole thing out and just move it back ever so slightly, So I don't know how the tracks are going to get on here, but the trains can, I think, deal with 2-meter slopes. So if we have this going up to here, so if we have something like that, I have no idea if that'll work or not, and it probably won't. Okay, we can, I've thought of a much better way of doing this. We can just have the slope go out this way. So you just go over there, and I don't know, something, just one more over. So this comes around like this. How do we get you to line up properly? Because that's all curving too sharply, unless we get you all the way out to like there, but that's not even on the center of the thing. I guess that doesn't matter for this. Okay, so now over here we get our down ramp, and we just need this to get onto said down ramp and then go down. Alright, so you are now down here. So now we run this whole rail line all the way over to here. And then all the way over to this general vicinity, and then... Okay, so it isn't quite perfect. We needed like one more ramp there, but should work out anyways. So you just come over to here, and then connect up, and what the heck is that? Why would you do that? You just need to, I guess we need to disable that, and then build this in a way that makes sense, and then up. Alright, so we have our shortcut, except obviously the shortcut is dramatically longer than the ordinary path. So that is going to be the next thing we need to fix, which should fortunately be simply a matter of removing the ordinary path. Okay, so we have that whole thing in. Now, if we get rid of you, then hopefully the trains should figure this out, and if not, then that'll be unfortunate. But if it does work out, then we kind of still have to deal with the fact that the stuff over there is also pretty slow. So this very much does not solve the problem. Now, are you stuck? You should be able to find your way, like, just going all the way around if necessary. And then the ones past you should just be able to take the shortcut to get here. Alright, so now it's time to figure out what is causing this whole traffic jam and what we can do to speed it up. And the answer to that is honestly probably just that there are a bunch of stops here. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's no one individual thing that's causing it. It's just that this particular branch is very, very busy. Like, we have all of that stuff to worry about. We've got all of these factories over here, all the stuff in the swamp. Now, that said, even just when we get out to here, it's just completely empty track ahead of us. At least at the moment. Which means that a large portion of the congestion is coming from this area. We might need to shortcut around that again. But maybe it's just not an issue. Did you just stop in an intersection? Why have you done that? There's a signal there. A path signal that specifically says you're not allowed to stop in that intersection. And yet, it has done so anyways. This is the struggle of dealing with trains. Sometimes they just sort of don't feel like doing what you need them to be doing. Okay, so it looks like this intersection is sort of the major issue here. Like, this train is waiting for a long time here, and there's plenty of open space in front of it. So, we could get another fun little underground shortcut. Or we could just move this nitrogen source to be input somewhere else. Okay, actually, what if we move the nitrogen source all the way over to there so that it just merges up with this instead of going into here? Then we would have one fewer intersection on this main line in exchange for, I guess that one would be slightly busier, but that's probably okay because it's past this, which a lot of the trains are probably going to want to be going into. Yeah, let's do that. So this goes bam, 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 and then out to there. So then you get connected up like this. Actually, this doesn't even need to be an intersection, right? Or not. This just needs to be a corner, because we're going to be dismantling this part. Why did I just fall out of the sky randomly? That was weird. Alright, so this is going to be going over here where it will be an intersection. So let's bring this line over this way. And then I'm not sure that this lines up perfectly, so we're going to have to just do it like that. And then this stuff gets connected up. And then this railway does need to be a 20 billion way connection. So we go with that. And that. I suspect that some of these connection sides will never be used. But that's fine. So you get a path signal and a block signal. And we get a path signal there if it can line up properly. And you get to become a path signal. Alright, so that is now connected into there. So that should just work without any future changes. We can now remove this entire intersection. So all that stuff goes out. These signals need to not exist anymore. And there we go. That is that. Just take these all the way back to here so that it's nice smooth curves. And let's get some additional signals in here just in case that's needed for whatever reason. Okay, now we can redo this signaling. So that doesn't need a path signal. We don't need a block signal there. So this is now just one block. And hopefully that deals with that a little bit. But meanwhile, all this stuff has also broken. Probably because of that additional shortcut that I built around the central intersection. So let's head back over this way and see what went wrong. So we head back over this way. And what is going on here? So, has anyone even attempted to use the shortcut? It looks like nothing here has moved. Is this the same train? Yes, this is the same train. Alright, so first off, we need that to go out. We might just need to toggle self-driving. Alright, so self-driving has been toggled. You're still not moving. Okay, I guess you just need to... We just need to turn off self-driving, back you up a little bit. Have these intersections gotten busted since... Okay. There. So now that switch is working again. Turn on self-driving, and now you're able to move. And you're probably going to do something unhinged in order to get turned around. And hopefully you manage that safely. And then this one might also do something unhinged to get turned around. Although you're going a different direction, so you might just actually be a train that wants to go that way. And now you are taking the shortcut. Alright, so down you go. And around and back up. And please don't get stuck on a hill somehow. No, there's enough distance that if you're waiting there, you shouldn't get stuck on a hill. Okay. So that should be that dealt with a lot better. This whole zipper merge thing isn't great. And turbo motor coal has collided with something. Because of course it has. Why would signals ever do the thing they're supposed to do, which is prevent collisions? Let's head on over and see what happened. It looks like our shortcut is getting used a lot, though. So that's good. So we head on over to here. And now we're over this way. So let's re-rail the trains and see what happened. And it's another one of these classic collisions, which shouldn't be possible, but seem to happen from time to time now. So there's nothing that we can really do about that. Okay, great. More of this stuff is happening. Now, I wonder if it's because they like recalculate their route while waiting at a stop or something, and then they get confused and start moving. Because it has only ever happened like in the immediate aftermath of me changing something. So I feel like that very well might be it. So we need to head all the way down here to get that fixed up. Alright, so now we're over here. And is this another one of these again? Yep, it's another one of these. They just keep happening, and I don't know why. Alright, Alright, so you are set up. You're probably just going to collide again instantly, aren't you? Let's get you self-driving turned off and then scoot you backwards a little bit. And then we leave, and then we need to give this guy the opportunity to move. So you should be able to turn right soon. Although now there's a big traffic jam back here again, so it looks like whatever we did not work. And now you're waiting in the intersection, despite the fact that you shouldn't be allowed to do so. Alright, these path signals are literally just not doing the thing that path signals do. So that's cool. I appreciate that. I mean, it's working for this guy. Alright, let's just get you going over this way somewhere. And turn on self-driving. And then hope that this all gets sorted out. So you're going to be waiting in that intersection, as well as you. We just need these trains over here to get moving now, in order for this to work. Alright, over this way. And we just keep going until we find somewhere where we can fix a problem. Ooh. Yeah, jumping on trains is hard because they have all these random little holes in them that you can fall into. Alright, so why are you just sitting here? There's tons of free space in front of you. You're not trying to get to either of those. So I feel like we just need to get you going. And then... Alright. There. Now you're off. Hopefully that will fix the rest of these guys. So yeah, now you're starting to move. I wonder if we just like physically don't have enough space on the tracks for all these trains. Like, I wonder if the path were less efficient, there would be more physical space on the tracks and we could fit more trains on them. That might genuinely be like at least a small part of the problem. I doubt it would be a true fix, but it might be something. Alright, so this is all working forwards. And that should get this all cleared up. So that is going, and then you can go, and then did I set you to automatic driving, or did I not? I can't remember. Okay, you are self-driving mode currently, so you should go forwards a little bit. Off you go. Okay, now this train just sort of being in the intersection here is now a problem. So we can turn on self-driving for you and get you moving. And that should get these guys moving. Alright, so now we should be all recovered, more or less. So those two trains can both pass through the intersection. And good to go. Alright, so this is now all set up, probably. We really just need to spend some more time playing whack-a-mole with these bottlenecks and figuring out how to remove them. And one of the things which we might have to do is we might just need to fully disconnect like some portion of the train tracks. Like if we just take all of the iron trains, for example, and move them all just to an entirely separate network where they never interact with the rest of the stuff, that might do it, even if it's only like a temporary fix. I mean, everything we're doing here is just sort of pushing back like the point where there are too many trains at any given intersection and things start stopping. But that might be something that we could do to help a lot. Alright, so this is doing its thing. It looks like we have plenty of trains using this bypass route. It seems to be working well. Yeah, it does seem better now. And maybe that's just an illusion because I've pushed things around so much. But it seems like we're getting more stuff through here. Like, we still have trains constantly moving through the center intersection. But then also we have these guys going around every so often when there's otherwise wouldn't be free space available in the intersection. So yeah, I think that may have temporarily solved it. Again, just by taking a significant chunk of the trains which otherwise use the intersection and just pulling them out of it. So then, do we have significant backlogs of trains? We have a pretty big backlog of trains over this way, so we might have to fix that. For now, though, I think we're going to call it a day here. And I will be back in Satisfactory on Tuesday. So I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. So if you haven't already, make sure to follow so that you know when I'm live. And if you have already followed, thanks for doing that. It's pretty cool. And I will be doing Factorio tomorrow, where we are finally making forward progress there on like getting space platforms relatively easy to construct and send around. And our goal for tomorrow is to then use those space platforms to get Vulcanists sending artillery, ammunition, and stuff back to Novice so that we can defeat the Biter Menace, at least for now. And so yeah, that will be that. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. And let's see, have I said anything else? I always do this outro in like a variety of different orders, which means I can never remember what I have and haven't said. Anyways, thanks everyone for hanging out. I've had a lot of fun, and I will see you guys next time.